Hey folks, welcome to another Triple T Thursday. For those just joining us, that's tools, tips, and talk, where we'll discuss info for the knife maker. In today's episode, we're going to review a new tool. I purchased this tool. This is not a sponsor or anything like that. I just thought this was one of the coolest tools I've seen in a long time. So I figured I'd show you what it is. It is a hand tool for a metal lathe. And I know some of you, especially the machinists, are going to be like, what? That's crazy. But wait till you see what it can do. We're going to talk about this little guy. Let's go down to the table, take a look, and then we'll go over to the lathe. So here's the tool we're talking about. This is a Turnado from Eccentric Engineering, which is a company in Australia. And basically, this is like a hand stylus for a lathe. And it comes with this table, and I'll explain a bit more about this, but basically your lathe is going to be running here, your work, and then you move this with your hand and do any kind of free-form shape. The reason this is possible, if we look at it from this angle, is the tool here is supported by this part of the handpiece. So the cutter is always inset from here, so all the pressure is down over top of this area, and that's why this works and it's safe. And you'll see when I go to do this. Some other cool things about this: the tool rest, of course, is at an angle, so you can perfectly measure this thing to your workpiece, and the sleeve goes in and out, so you can just adjust the tool piece and then adjust this sleeve. So that's very cool. So let's talk about the base. So this comes kind of, you have to cut these specifically for the height of your lathe, because every lathe is different. So I've already done that for my lathe. I just cut them on the mill, but of course you can just put each one of these in your lathe and just face them off. And then I drilled some holes for my where my tool post is, the T-slot, so we're just going to go put this in the lathe. Okay, so I've got it all done. I've got it on the cross slide, so it goes in and out. I'll just move it back a little bit so I got more room. I've got some aluminum chucked up in the lathe. So now let's just turn our first little bit and just see how it feels. So you can see I'm cutting chips, so very cool. And you ask yourself, okay, big deal. Why is this a useful tool? So let's go over some of the attachments for this. First off, which isn't a really attachment that would come with it, but some interesting things. If you wanted a really long taper on something, you could just bolt a ruler or something like this and use it as a guide just to make a long taper, okay? But what if you want to do a radius? A radius on the end of this is something that's really hard to do without a bunch of special tooling. So to do radiuses, we have the radius tool. And you'll notice there's holes all over this plate. That's to drop this little peg into. And now the radius tool, either you put it in the front and your stylus goes here. This will give you I'll move this peg. This will give you a radius, so I can do this radius here, or you can flip the stylus around, put the stylus this way, and now you can do outside radiuses. So let's put a radius on the outside of this. And you screw this right into the tool here. The only thing is you have to play with it a little bit to get the right radius. It doesn't exactly give you any kind of, way to guide this in. Okay, so let's give it a shot. So I started with a pretty big piece of aluminum here, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you can see I can make a perfect radius here just with a hand tool, which is very hard to do without all kinds of special tooling for your lathe. So let's do a little outside curve. So there's the inside curve, and of course you can position this right underneath the cutting heads to make this radius even smaller. So very cool. So that's the radius tool. They also have a large radius tool, so you can do big sweeping radiuses, but it's not something I would ever use, so I didn't purchase that option. But one thing that I'm very excited about is the next piece, so let me show you that. Okay, so the next cool part of this is a tracing function. So what it is you've got a rail here that you use as your guide, and you have a piece, it comes with a piece of brass you can cut. I just ground 3 little divots in here, but you can put whatever pattern you want. Then you can just screw these in here. Then you've got this stylus, which is kind of like a pantograph, but not really. And then your hand tool, I'll take it out of the radius attachment here, sits on top of this. I need it. And then this traces as this makes the mark here. I need to just put this just a little closer. Yeah, probably about there. See, this will just mark our pattern here. It doesn't have a very wide, you can't do really kind of wide patterns. You'd have to just move the stylus a little bit. But I'll just do these two little bumps here. So there it is. I imprinted this and cut this pattern into this part, these 2 scallops here. So that was really cool. It did take me a while. It probably took me 15 minutes or so. It probably would have taken me that long had I had some other tool. Anyway, this is kind of a lot to take out. You are pressing pretty hard with this thing. I've also used this on steel, of course, and it works just fine. A little simpler on aluminum. It does leave a decent finish. I didn't have this going at a very high of a speed for a finish pass, but yeah. So you can see all of the cool uses of this thing: the radius, the inside curves. And being able to duplicate this, and I could take this same pattern and flip it over, slide it over here. If I was doing say like quillions for a quillion dagger, which is what's in my head, or any other kind of pattern where you want to duplicate it, you can create your little template. So I hope you got something out of today's Triple T reviewing this. I think it's a really cool tool, so I'll leave information for Eccentric Engineer down in the description. So go check them out and pick yourself up one of these. And I don't think it was that expensive. I think I paid like $150 or something for. I don't remember if I bought this. I know I bought this piece separately. So anyway, go check it out. It's not crazy expensive, and it really opens up your tooling to be able to do something freehand, or just do things like that. Also, when you get the I was thinking, when you get the pantograph tool or the templating tool, you can use this bar just as a ruler too, because you can adjust this and just use this as kind of a straight edge as well. So that's another cool use for this thing. You just take the template off and you can use it for any kind of lines, which would be very cool if you're just doing kind of different angles. You can just place this for different angles that you need to do. You know, that's another thing. Those random angle tapers are kind of hard to do unless you have a big taper attachment. So for small lathes like this, it's a great tool. So go check it out. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one.